Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into the book of Genesis today. Genesis 42 to be exact.
Ooh, Genesis 42.
Yeah, I know you might already know the story of Joseph. You know, the dreams, the coat, the whole brotherly betrayal thing.
It's a classic.
It is. But we're going deeper this time, really gonna peel back the layers and see what makes these characters tick, especially when a famine hits and those brothers have to go to Egypt for food.
Oh yeah, talk about a tense situation.
Right. So before we get into all that drama, gotta set the scene a bit. Famine in Canaan. Like, serious famine. People are desperate.
And this isn't just like, oh, we're out of snacks, this is life or death. These people depended on their harvests.
Right, ancient world problems. No grocery stores, no Amazon Prime delivering food.
Exactly. So when the crops failed, Egypt, with the Nile River, it was basically the go-to place for survival, like a beacon of hope.
I can just imagine the caravans heading there, desperate people, hoping for a miracle.
Absolutely, it would have been a
Okay.
chaotic time. And think about the political implications too. All these people showing up needing food, it could create tensions.
For sure. Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. Jacob, Joseph's dad, he sends his sons to Egypt to buy grain.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yep. And guess who they end up facing?
I think we all know the answer to that one.
The very brother they sold into slavery. Talk about irony, right?
The layers are just chef's kiss,
Yeah,
deliciously ironic. And you have to wonder what's going through Joseph's head.
I know, right? Like,
Wow.
trying to picture, he's this powerful governor now. He could easily have them thrown out, or worse.
Absolutely, he's got all the power. But he doesn't. Instead, he's pretty harsh with them, accuses them of being spies.
Right. So is it a power play? Is he trying to get some kind of revenge?
It could be. Or maybe it's a test, like he needs to see if they've changed at all.
Because remember, these are the guys who literally threw him in a pit and left him for dead.
Right, not exactly model brothers. And then their response just adds fuel to the fire.
Oh, tell me about it. They try to explain themselves, right? Say there were 12 brothers originally, but one stayed home, and one is no more.
Ooh, that line gives me chills. No more.
Right. Like, talk about a gut punch for Joseph. Hearing them basically say he's dead.
It's loaded with emotional subtext, and you can feel the tension building. Joseph's got all this hurt and anger bottled up.
Not to mention, probably some hope that maybe, just maybe, they've become decent human beings since he's been gone.
Right, it's that tiny flicker of hope that maybe things are different now.
But he's not letting on. He throws them in prison. Which, I mean, fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, can't say I blame him, but then he offers them a way out. A strange way out.
Right. Bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, to Egypt. Now, why is he so fixated on Benjamin?
That's where things get really interesting. Remember, they share the same mother, Rachel, and Jacob, well, he definitely had a favorite.
Oh, yeah. Rachel was the love of his life. So bringing Benjamin into the mix adds a whole other layer of complexity.
Absolutely. Yeah. It makes you wonder what Joseph is really after. Is he longing for a connection to his mother through Benjamin?
Could be. Or is he trying to see if his brothers are still playing favorites, still capable of that same jealousy?
Yeah. Or maybe it's even deeper than that. Maybe he's hoping against hope that at least one of his brothers has a shred of decency.
It's a brilliant move by the writer, really, leaving us to ponder all these possibilities.
Keeps us on the edge of our seats, right?
Uh.
Wondering what's going to happen next.
Totally. So meanwhile, back in Canaan, the brothers are telling Jacob about this crazy encounter. And get this, they find their money back in their sacks.
What? Okay, now that's just creepy.
Right? It's like, is it a sign from God? Some kind of twisted joke?
I'd be freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And poor Jacob. He's already lost Joseph, or so he thinks.
And now they're asking him to send Benjamin, his youngest, his favorite, into this volatile situation. Can you imagine the stress?
He must feel like the world is ending. And it's not just about empty stomachs, it's about losing everything, facing utter despair.
Absolutely. So much more than just a food shortage. And in this moment of pure desperation, one of the brothers, Reuben, makes a drastic move.
Oh yeah, Reuben steps up.
He offers his own sons' lives as a guarantee that Benjamin will return safely.
Talk about high stakes.
Right. It's a huge gamble. Shows just how desperate they are to get that grain.
And it sets the stage for their return to Egypt. The tension is just building and building.
But here's the thing. They think it's all about survival, but we, the audience, we see the bigger picture. This isn't just about food.
It's about Joseph.
Yes.
And the sins of the past coming back to haunt them.
Exactly. And now the question is, will Jacob risk everything to save his family from starvation? Or will he lose another son? Man, that ending to part one, it's got me hooked. Will Jacob send Benjamin? I mean, it's a huge risk, right? After losing, well, thinking he lost Joseph.
Yeah, you can feel the weight of that decision. I mean, the text really emphasizes how torn he is. But, I mean, what choice does he have?
It's either risk one son or watch his entire family starve.
It's a no-win situation, really.
And the famine is getting worse, right? It's not getting any easier for them.
Exactly. So, Jacob, he finally agrees. But you can tell it's not an easy decision.
He's basically sending Benjamin into the lion's den, not knowing what's going to happen.
And think about those brothers heading back to Egypt, facing the unknown.
Knowing what they did to Joseph.
The guilt must be eating them alive. I mean, can you imagine the psychological pressure? Going back to the scene of the crime, so to speak?
And this time, they bring gifts. Balm, honey, spices, even almonds and pistachios.
Oh, interesting. What do you make of that?
It seems kind of desperate, like they're trying to butter Joseph up, or maybe like subconsciously trying to make amends for what they did.
Yeah, maybe. Gift giving in the ancient world was a big deal.
Yeah.
Especially when you were dealing with someone powerful.
Like, hey, we come in peace, please don't kill us.
Right, exactly. It was a way to show respect, seek favor, maybe even smooth over past transgressions.
Okay, so they arrive in Egypt, bow low before Joseph. And this time, the text specifically mentions that Joseph sees Benjamin, his full brother.
Oh, that's a powerful moment. What does the text say about his reaction?
It says he was deeply moved, like visibly shaken.
He tries to keep it together, but then he has to excuse himself. He goes off and weeps privately.
Man, all those years of buried emotion just pouring out. Relief, longing, pain.
Probably a mix of everything.
Yeah.
The writer doesn't spell it out for us, leaves it open to interpretation.
Which I kind of like. It lets us really get into Joseph's head, you know? Imagine what must be going through his mind at that moment.
It's a turning point in the story, that's for sure. The facade starts to crack. We see a glimpse of the real Joseph underneath all that power and control.
And then he invites them to dine with him, which was like a huge honor back then.
Absolutely, a sign of favor. But even that meal is full of tension.
Oh yeah, he orchestrates the whole thing, places them in order of their birth, which completely freaks them out.
Wait, how did he know their birth order?
Good question. It's a little creepy, right? Adds to the mystery surrounding Joseph.
Totally. And then, to really mess with them, he gives Benjamin 5 times as much food as the others.
Like, what's going on here? Remember, they still don't know it's Joseph. He's just some high-ranking Egyptian dude who seems oddly fond of their younger brother.
Right. They must be thinking, is this guy serious? What was his deal with Benjamin?
The suspense is killing me. And then, after the meal, things get even crazier.
So don't tell me. He pulls another fast one.
Yeah. He tells his steward to secretly plant his silver cup in Benjamin's sack.
Whoa, talk about a power move, setting them up.
It's like he's playing chess with their lives. He wants to see how they'll react. Will they betray Benjamin to save themselves?
Or will they finally show some loyalty? Have they changed at all since they sold Joseph into slavery?
Okay, so the next morning, the brothers are leaving Canaan, and suddenly, Joseph's steward shows up, accuses them of stealing the cup.
Oh man, the stakes just keep getting higher.
The brothers are outraged, right? They're like, we would never steal from you. We'll kill whoever did this.
Which is interesting, right? Because back then, they didn't hesitate to throw Joseph to the wolves.
Yeah, but now they're talking about justice and accountability. Have they actually changed?
Maybe. Or maybe they're just really good at putting on a show.
We'll see. Because guess what?
They find the cup in Benjamin's bag.
Bingo. Now it's Benjamin who's in trouble. The tables have turned.
And how do they react?
They're devastated. They tear their clothes. They go back to Joseph's palace. They're ready to face the music.
So they're not running away this time.
Nope. They're sticking together, even though it could cost them everything. So last time we left off with the brothers back in Joseph's palace. Benjamin's caught with the silver cup. Seems pretty dire, right? But we know Joseph. He's a master strategist. I'm not sure I'm buying that he's truly angry about a stolen cup.
Right. It does seem a little too perfect. Like it's all part of some elaborate plan. And what happens next? Well, Judah steps up.
Judah. The one who suggested selling Joseph in the first place.
The very same. And he makes this passionate plea to Joseph. It's really unexpected.
So he's not denying the theft or blaming someone else.
No, not at all. He throws himself on Joseph's mercy. Explains how devastated their father would be if he lost Benjamin. Especially after thinking Joseph was dead all these years.
Because losing 2 sons, well, it would just destroy him.
Right. And remember how much Jacob favored Joseph and then Benjamin? Must cause a lot of resentment back then.
Yeah, I bet. So what's Judah's angle here?
Well, get this. He offers himself as a substitute for Benjamin. Says he'll become a slave in his brother's place.
Wow. Is he serious? That's a huge change from the Judah we saw earlier. The jealous one scheming to get rid of Joseph.
It is a dramatic shift. Is it genuine remorse? Or a clever tactic to save his own skin? The text doesn't say for sure.
Keeps us guessing, right?
Exactly. It's one of those moments where we have to grapple with the complexity of human motivation. Are people capable of real change?
Tough question. So, what about Joseph? He's witnessing this whole dramatic scene.
I mean, can you imagine what he's feeling after all these years of carrying this burden of betrayal?
And now, seeing Judah, the one who orchestrated it all, begging for mercy.
It must be incredibly intense. And the text tells us he can't keep it up anymore.
The act.
The act, yeah. He orders everyone out of the room, and then he reveals his true identity. He tells them who he is.
Oh man, what a moment. Talk about a plot twist.
The shock, the disbelief. I mean, the guy they've been dealing with this whole time, the powerful governor of Egypt.
Is their brother, the one they thought was dead?
And the text really emphasizes the emotional weight of this moment. It says Joseph wept so loudly that even Pharaoh's household heard it.
Wow, that's not just a few tears. That's years of pent-up everything just pouring out.
Absolutely. Years of pain, anger, maybe even a bit of vindication. Who knows?
So, what happens next? How do the brothers react?
Well, it's surprising, really. Joseph tells them not to worry, not to be angry with themselves for what they did.
Wait, what? He forgives them.
He does. He says, and this is a famous line, God sent me before you to preserve life.
Wow. So he's basically saying their betrayal was part of a bigger plan, that it led him to this position of power so he could save his family.
Exactly. It's a powerful message of forgiveness and reconciliation. And it really shifts the focus, doesn't it?
From human cruelty to divine providence.
Right. It's not about dwelling on the past, but about looking to the future, about hope.
So what happens to the brothers? I mean, what about Jacob?
Well, Joseph tells them to go back to Canaan and bring their father and their families to Egypt.
So a family reunion?
A big one. He wants them to settle in Goshen, the best land in Egypt. They'll be safe and well provided for. A fresh start.
Man, I bet that reunion was something else.
The text describes Jacob's disbelief, the tears, the overwhelming joy. It's the culmination of everything, really. A family broken by betrayal and loss, finally made whole again.
It's an amazing story. And it's not just a feel-good story, is it? I mean, we've been talking about forgiveness, reconciliation, the idea that even terrible things can lead to good.
Right. Those themes are so timeless, they resonate with us today just as much as they did back then.
Exactly. And on that note, we come to the end of our deep dive into Genesis 42. It's a story that stays with you, doesn't it? Makes you think about your own life, your own relationships.
For sure. It challenges us to think about our own capacity for forgiveness. Could we forgive someone who hurt us so deeply? Could we rebuild trust after such a betrayal?
Tough questions. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It doesn't give us easy answers. It leaves us wrestling with these big, complicated emotions.
And that's what makes it a story worth revisiting, a story that continues to speak to us across the centuries.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.